I dug through some peer-reviewed research and found 5 groups of foods that can really help you boost your digestive health. And I'm going to put the links to these studies that we talk about in the description below so you can dig into these a little bit more. And some of them are really going to surprise you, and some may be right in your kitchen right now. But remember that good digestion is about a lot more than just regular bowel movements. It's about helping your body access the nutrients that it needs to function correctly and to rebuild and repair itself correctly and to detox the way that it should. So when we can take steps to really optimize and boost our digestive ability, we can really optimize and boost our health as well. Now, if you've tried any of these and they didn't seem to help your digestion, I'm also going to explain why and steps you can take to improve that scenario. The first food we want to talk about is bone broth. And when we look at this study on bone broth, it helps us understand that the composition of bone broth contains a lot of gut protective components to it, especially the gelatin and a lot of the amino acid compounds in bone broth help us create that mucus barrier that's really protective, along with strengthening the gut lining that helps us to keep the bad stuff out and helps us bring the right nutrients into the system. So the thing that I really like about bone broth is when you cook it for an extended period of time, you're really pulling all of these nutrients and minerals out of these bones and the other foods in the broth and putting them into a liquid state. Now it becomes very bioavailable to the body. So zinc is a really important mineral for digestion because it's needed for us to be able to make hydrochloric acid or stomach acid so that we can break our food down and get the nutrients out of that food. Now zinc is not super high in bone broth, but the way that it's so easy to assimilate in this liquid state makes it easier for a person to access and use those nutrients. So I like bone broth for its easy access and bioavailability to a lot of these nutrients that the body needs for digestion to really work correctly, but also for these compounds that help us rebuild and repair that gut lining that's so important for our proper digestion. Our second food group is garlic and onions. Onions and their fructooligosaccharides are a great food source for the beneficial bacteria in our large intestine that we really need to help us break down foods and get more nutrients out of those foods. So it's not just about putting probiotics in there. A lot of times we need to make sure that these good gut flora have something to eat, and these onions provide a great source. Now garlic, on the other hand, seems to be a little bit magic, and when we look at this garlic study, we see that not only does it have antimicrobial properties that can really help wipe out pathogens and get them out of the system, but it also contains a food source for the good gut flora, sort of like the onions do. So it's like this double whammy where garlic can really help police the situation and keep the bad guys under control while also supplying a food source to the good guys that help us really digest our food and really magnify our ability to have a proper immune system. So it's like a prebiotic powerhouse, but also with antimicrobial properties. That's almost like it's AI or something. So I like to take a couple of fresh cloves and press them fresh. I basically put them in a garlic press as I start to make my lunch so that they can sit there for about 10 minutes and let that allicin really activate and make that more effective in the garlic. And then I'll either just eat a spoonful as I'm eating my food and I'll have a really garlicky bite, or I'll mix it in like a dressing of like apple cider vinegar and olive oil, and that's really delicious that way. Just keep in mind that if you have a significant overgrowth like a SIBO issue in your small intestine, some of these foods could actually magnify your symptom by either feeding the bad guys as well or magnifying symptoms as you're creating die-off. So we like to see people reduce an overgrowth before they implement these foods, and then they'll see a lot better results. Now group number 3 is unrefined salt and pickles or apple cider vinegar. And I group these things together just because they can help with that acidification process. The chloride ion found in unrefined salt is one of the things the body needs to be able to make hydrochloric acid. So some people can't make enough hydrochloric acid just because the body doesn't have the resources it needs to do so. So if you can use some unrefined salt, that can sometimes boost that ability to really acidify the stomach so that we can break our food down correctly. Now, apple cider vinegar can also be a nice little boost, and even eating a pickle with a meal can help acidify that meal a little bit. These things won't be anywhere near as effective as the hydrochloric acid your body is supposed to make, but it can provide a nice boost if someone just needs a little bit of a boost. Like if a kid really needs help acidifying their food, I'll just have them eat a pickle with their meal because that's a really gentle way to do that. Now, if someone has a significant low stomach acid issue, they're using some type of PPI drug that turns off stomach acid, these things are not going to be enough to fix that problem, but they can give a nice boost if a person just needs a boost. Group number 4 is sauerkraut or fermented vegetables. And in this study on gut microbiota targeted diets modulate human immune status, they found that a high fermented food diet steadily increased the diversity of the microbiota and also decreased inflammatory markers. And one big thing about increasing these good gut flora is they have the ability to produce these enzymes that help us really break down food particles and get more nutrients out of that food. So if we can include some fermented foods, not only do we increase that diversity of our microbiota and help the immune system function better, but we can also increase the production of these enzymes that really help us break down our food better and access the nutrients in that food. And the final food group is bitter greens or dark leafy greens. And in this study from the Journal of Neurogastroenterology and Motility, they say that bitter taste receptors in the gastrointestinal tract can actually be triggered by these bitter foods coming in, and that can trigger the release of more cholecystokinin or CCK. And CCK is what tells the gallbladder, hey, let's squirt some bile down here and help neutralize these acids, but also help us emulsify the dietary fat so that we can really break those down and access fat-soluble vitamins and get all the nutrients from the fats that we're consuming as well. So this CCK is very important for proper digestion, and consuming some bitter foods can really boost that a little bit. I like to use things like arugula or dandelion and radicchio and endive. These are great bitter greens that can really boost that cholecystokinin release. Now, I'm not going to eat an arugula salad because that's going to be too bitter, but if I mix that in with other more mild lettuce like romaine and such, it's really delicious. If somebody's bile has become too thick and sticky to flow correctly, eating bitter vegetables is not going to be enough to fix that. And dark leafy greens have a lot of other compounds that help feed those good microbiota like we want to, but also have some fiber to help push some junk out. People just want to tell you, oh, you just got to take fiber to fix all your digestive troubles. That's not the reality, but it really can be a helpful and important part of the whole system. And if you've used other foods that have really helped your digestion, let us know in the comments so other people can learn from your experience as well. And remember, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving anybody medical advice, but if you can go through these studies, I'll link in the description below. That'll help you ask the right questions for your doctor. So when we're using things like the bone broth for the gut barrier support and the garlic and onions for their prebiotic and antimicrobial properties, as well as like the sea salt and other types of acidic things to help the stomach acidify correctly, and then sauerkraut or fermented foods for those probiotics and development of enzymes, and then the bitter and dark greens to help bile flow and to provide that fiber that can be beneficial. When we're doing all those things, we're really doing a lot to boost our digestion. Now, what I want to help you understand is that if you have significant digestive malfunctions and significant digestive symptoms that you're experiencing, these things are not going to fix those. These are just going to give you a boost. And I hear from a lot of people, they're like, oh, I just want to use foods and fix my digestion naturally. And yeah, that's really a great idea. Foods have a lot of compounds in them that can be very healing for a wide variety of problems, but the reason that they're healing is because of the nutrients found inside of those foods. So if you don't have the ability to digest those foods and break them down, you can't access those healing nutrients in the foods. So it's not really going to fix your digestion. Most people with significant issues need to be more aggressive, and they usually need to use specific supplements to fix these malfunctions, help the body function the way that it should, and then these foods can be really beneficial. So I hope these 5 groups of foods help you give a nice boost to your digestion and are easy to put into your day. But if you have significant issues with your digestion, jump over right now and check out our video on full digestive reset, because you want to understand why you're having those issues, and that will help you understand how to correct them. I can't wait to hear about your results.